Hey everybody. Let's see here. Who have we got here? Morning. Good morning to you, or good morning for me. It could be the evening where you are. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week, depending on when you're watching this. Hello, hello, hello. Lots of action happening in the chat here. Lots of activity. Lots of familiar names. Some new people in there as well, but of course I see Rosa and Vivek. Who else is there? Paolo is here. I think I saw Luciana earlier. French Leo is back. Hello, sir. How are you? I think I saw Chateau 7 in there too. Alejandra, hello. Noor, Trumpy's back. Okay. Good. Suede. All right. Jose. Hello, hello. Good to see everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'm coming to you live in the studio at the Canadian College of English Language in downtown Vancouver, where it's a little bit chilly. It's frosty. Sub-zero temperatures. It feels like a real Canadian winter out there. All right, but I'm nice and warm and comfy in here with you. Luciana is here. Good. I don't know if is it another holiday for you, or did you fake sick from work to join us today? All right. All right, so I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are. I hope you're warm or cool, or I hope you're at the ideal temperature. Yeah. My glasses are like yours. If you're talking to me, maybe you're talking to me. I can't read your name because I think it's in Arabic there, right? So Ahmad Rashad is here. Manju. Hi. Everton is here. Cool. All right. So, yeah, good to see you. It's Thursday morning for me. I'm excited. I always look forward to these classes. It's 8 p.m. in Turkey, says Jem. Shadow 7. How many scarves does a normal Canadian have? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever met a normal Canadian. If you're talking about the average Canadian, how many scarves? I would say one scarf per day of the week. No, I think that's a little excessive. I think I have maybe 3. I think I have 3 quality scarves that I like, and I think that's more than enough. I think. I don't know. What about perhaps the average French person has more scarves than the average Canadian? I'm not sure. All right. It's warm in the UAE. Mohammed says. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. Okay, you don't fake sick, Luciana. Good for you. All right, we've got India here. I think Thailand, Syria. We're global. This is great. Shaminda's back. All right. I could just sit here all morning and just say hi to everybody, and then that would be the whole class. But let's jump in. Baba Nana's here too. Cool. All right. So today, let me get into the lesson here. Let's get started. Lots of stuff to talk about today. Zara is here from Morocco. No scarf in front. Okay. All right. So today we're going to continue something that we started with last week. Last week we started talking about something that is a really broad category. Lots to discuss, and that's what we're talking about today. Is patterns. Alexander's in the Ukraine. Trumpy thinks I look like Spider-Man. Yeah, I've gotten that before. I'll take that. I'm okay with Spider-Man. Yeah. Superman too, maybe? All right. So, we're not ending. What happened there? Here we go. So, patterns today. We're talking about patterns, guys. All right? Patterns. Okay? So many different kinds of patterns. You got floral patterns. You've got mathematical patterns, right? Math is the science of patterns, so they say. You've got patterns of behavior, right? You've got pattern shirts. I've got pattern shirts. This guy's got a nice pattern shirt. You've got this guy wearing a pattern shirt, buying another patterned shirt, right? So there's patterns everywhere. Mr. One Largo, Russia is here. We got Algeria there too. Cool. All right, so patterns is what we're discussing today. And of course, it wouldn't be Christmas without a terrible Christmas pattern sweater. This guy doesn't seem very happy about his Christmas sweater, but that is indeed a pattern. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. But we are not talking about Christmas sweater patterns. Why are we talking about patterns? Okay, we're talking about patterns because if you understand patterns, if you can identify patterns, and then you can anticipate patterns and avoid mistakes. You can learn from patterns. And in a language, although a language is not science, it's not math, there are lots of exceptions, right? There are definitely patterns to follow in a language, right? And that is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to continue today with verb patterns, all right? The patterns that you follow when you put one verb after another verb. Okay, so we started with this last week. Norway is here. Amini from Norway. Cool. That's great. All right, so we did a whole class last week on verb patterns. So we're coming in kind of halfway through. If you missed it, you can always go back and watch the video, okay? But we're going to continue with it. We're going to get a little bit more, maybe a little bit more advanced, okay? We're going to throw you a couple curve balls today, maybe. All right, so last week we talked about verb patterns for two reasons. Common mistakes, right? Students often make mistakes with verb patterns. And as I said last week, verb patterns fall into this category of the just because category, right? There's no way of reasoning or thinking your way through the pattern. You just have to learn it and follow it accordingly, okay? So the question, somebody's asking me to say the word pattern. Yeah, well, I mean, it really depends how quickly. Vivek is saying, oh, sound. Oh, you're asking about sound patterns. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's an example of patterns for sure. So the last few classes that we've had, we've done collocations, and then last week we started talking about patterns, right? Now, as I said, it's all of this stuff falls into this category of you just have to learn it, you have to make mistakes, and you have to follow these rules. But there's no sense to the rule, really. It's just, it is because it is. All right, so yes, people are getting angry already. There's going to be a mutiny because of the frustration. But as I said last week, these kinds of frustrating little bits of the language, that's what I like about teaching, all right? So last week we talked about verb patterns. Verbs followed by verbs, okay? And the three patterns we focused on last week, of course, were verbs plus to infinitive, the verb plus the gerund, which is the ing form, and then the verb that could be followed by an infinitive or the gerund, either or, okay? Now, we talked about all of this stuff last class. We looked at how sometimes if you follow a verb with the infinitive or the gerund, it can change the meaning of the sentence. And again, if you missed all that, you can go back and watch the video, okay? So last week, we focused on verbs that are immediately followed by an infinitive, right? Or immediately followed by the gerund. But sometimes there's more in that pattern. Sometimes the infinitive doesn't come directly after the verb. Trump is saying you're not good at patterns. Well, I'm going to try to help you out a little bit. All right? That's right, Everton. You don't commit mistakes. You make mistakes. I make mistakes too. Okay, so as I was saying, getting distracted here. Last week we talked about verbs being immediately followed by infinitives. This week we're going to look at a couple other patterns. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, three things that we're going to look at today. Lots of stuff to do. Verb plus object plus infinitive. Okay, we're going to put that object between the verb and the infinitive because that does change things a little bit every so often. Okay, and of course that means we'll also look at the verb plus the object followed by the gerund, right? So not just verb gerund, but we're going to put an object in the middle there, okay? And then the third thing we're going to look at today which is an area that students sometimes have trouble, is the verb plus that clauses. What verbs can be followed by that clauses, and the different types of that clauses. Now, if you don't know what a that clause is, don't worry, because I'm going to tell you a little bit later. Okay? So let's jump right into this here. Okay? And of course, if I didn't mention it already, if you have questions during the class, put it in the chat. If this is your first time here, put your questions in the chat, put your comments in the chat, and I'll try to answer them as often as I can, as quickly and as best as I can, okay? So Rose is saying, when I use a gerund instead of an infinitive, does the meaning change completely? Well, it really depends on the verb, right? Like last week, we talked a little bit about those verbs, like, what did we say, stop and try and mean, and a couple other ones that we looked at where the meaning does change, right? Like try to open and try opening, those are different meanings, right? And we talked a little bit about that last week. So Luciana, you're interested in the verb plus the object plus the infinitive. All right, well, good. Well, you're in luck, all right? Because that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. All right, verb plus object plus infinitive for Luciana, here we go. Oftentimes, the verb plus object plus infinitive, the meaning of this pattern is connected to cause, all right, like causative verbs, okay? There is kind of a way to differentiate when to use infinitives and gerunds. Of course, these are broad rules with exceptions, okay? But oftentimes, the infinitive verb will be connected to cause. And Robo Lalana is already saying ask. Exactly, that's a good example. And I believe that's what we're going to look at. Well, I think similar to ask in this case, because of course I'm always focusing on trouble in paradise here, romance troubles. Okay. He begged her to take him back. So can a verb with a specific pattern change if there's an object? Possibly, Alejandra. Yeah, I think I'm going to address that in a minute. So if you look at this sentence, this is a very basic sentence, the type of pattern that you have seen many times before. Okay? So you see the verb there, he begged her as the object, and then infinitive, right? There's your pattern right there. And some people are saying the word ask in the chat, and it's the same thing here. He asked her to take, right? So ask followed by the object, followed by the infinitive. That's your pattern, right? And sometimes to make it a little bit easy is that a lot of these verbs, okay, even if you take the object out, it's still going to be the infinitive pattern, right? I mean, like ask, for example. He asked me to leave, or he asked to leave. It's the same pattern with or without an object, okay? So he begged her to take him back. That's your pattern. She told him to, what did she tell him to? She told him to give her some space and time to think it over. He asked her a kiss, Vivek says. Well, he asked her for something, perhaps. All right. Now, Ahmed, you're asking some questions that are not really connected to this lesson, but we do have other videos on present participles as adjectives. You should check out the playlist. I've got a whole class dedicated to that very question. Okay? So this is the first pattern, right? And a lot of these, as I said, a lot of these verbs like tell, ask, what was the other one? Beg. These are connected to this idea of causative verbs, right? Getting someone to do something for you, or asking someone to do something for you. He urged her to take the flowers. Amini says, yeah, right. Yeah, just put maybe an S on urge there. Amini, that's good. Exactly. And I think we'll see that exact example in a minute. Now, of course, it wouldn't be English without a little bit of exceptions to rules and a little bit of confusion. Okay, so let me talk about a specific kind of tricky bit where sometimes the pattern will change if you insert the object. Okay, now look at this sentence. Some dreams require pushing yourself to your physical limits. Okay, I guess to be a world-class footballer, you have to push yourself to your limits. All right, so in this sentence, this is what we looked at last week, right? We said the verb require is followed by the gerund. If it's immediately followed by the verb is going to be a gerund. You can't say here, some dreams require to push. It doesn't work, okay? In the active voice, can't be the infinitive, has to be the gerund. However, of course, if I put an object after require, that changes things, okay? So look at this example. Emma's line of work requires her to meet tight deadlines, okay? So now since I put the object after require, the verb pattern becomes an infinitive and not a gerund, yeah? And that's the tricky part, is that some verbs, and we'll look at a couple examples of this today, some verbs, if they're immediately followed by the verb, it's a gerund. If you put an object in there, it's the infinitive, okay? Just to challenge you a little bit. As I said, some of this stuff is a little bit on the advanced side, okay? And again, if you guys have questions, put them in the chat, okay? So just be careful of some of these verbs, and really, again, the only way to avoid these mistakes is to make the mistake, learn from it, and correct it next time, and basically just know your list of verb patterns. Okay, so that's the infinitive. Let's look at verb plus object plus gerund. Okay, putting the object between the verb and the gerund. Manju say you don't understand gerund. Gerund just means the ing form of a verb. It's like a verbal noun. Manju, okay? Like studying is fun. Studying, that word is the gerund. Okay, crazy language. I think all languages are a little crazy. But yeah, obviously English is crazy because it's kind of a mixture of different languages over time. It's a crazy one, but it keeps me employed, so I'm happy about it. Yeah. Somebody's asking, what am I drinking? I'm just drinking an Americano, and it's delicious. All right, so verb plus object plus gerund. Oftentimes, the gerund has kind of a meaning of like a feeling or an attitude or perception. Okay, so we said infinitives are oftentimes causative. Okay, gerunds are about feeling. Okay, I'm not sure what your question is, Trumpy. I'm not sure about that. Trey Brown, hey, Trey Brown is back. He's got a question. Right, yeah, her job requires meeting tight deadlines. That's exactly right, Trey. Perfect. Because again, if you take that object out, right, then require is followed by the gerund. That's exactly right. Good. Good for you. Okay, so getting into the feelings. I appreciate you giving me a hand. Okay, now appreciate obviously is the feeling. Saying gerund sounds like continuous form. Yes, it looks like the continuous verb. That's exactly what it looks like, right? Rose is asking feeling or feelings. Either one. Okay, so I appreciate you giving me a hand. There's your verb, there's your object, and then the gerund, right? Now again, in this case, for most of these verbs with the gerund, if you know the previous pattern of verb plus gerund, the object doesn't really change much, right? I appreciate speaking with you. Appreciate is followed by a gerund with or without the object. Chateau 7 is saying, I saw him leaving the room. Well, that's one of those tricky ones that could be followed by a gerund or a bare infinitive, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Chateau 7, thank you for that. So again, here's your pattern, right? I appreciate, object is you, giving me a hand. Now, one little thing you can do if you want to get fancy is with this pattern in formal English, sometimes we use the possessive adjective. And we can say, I appreciate your giving me a hand. Okay, now again, this is more formal. This guy with the mustache climbing the mountain probably wouldn't say that to his buddy. He would probably say, I appreciate you giving me a hand. Or maybe he would just say, thanks, right? But if you want to get formal, you can use that possessive adjective with the gerund pattern like so. Good. Okay, now how about this? Oh, I don't want to get into that clauses yet. I want you guys to do a little work for me, okay? I talk too much, so I'm going to pop out of here for a minute. I'm going to put this up here. All right, I'm going to put something in the chat. There we go. All right, so I just put the link to this exercise in the chat here. Okay, so open it up if you want and make a copy, or you can just look on the screen here. I'll just leave it like this. So this is a very similar exercise to what we did last week. Okay, Alejandro, your question is, does it have the same meaning? Yes, it has the same meaning. It's just a different level of formality, I would say. Nora says, I appreciate you trying so hard to be a better person. Well, yeah, that's a perfect sentence. And if you're talking to me, I do try. I try to be a better person. I do. All right. I appreciate that you gave me a hand, Alex is saying. I appreciate that you gave me a hand. Yes, you can say that. Good. Okay. So lots of good questions coming in on the chat. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pop off the screen and I'm going to look at some of your questions. Okay. What I want you to do is I want to kind of test what you know so far. Here is a list of verbs, and I want you to put them into one or the other category. Okay. One of them is object infinitive. One is object gerund. Okay. So the easiest way to do it, I would say, is just classify it A or B. So the first one, forbid, I would take that and I would put it here. Okay. I forbid you to talk to him for some reason. Okay. Now, take a couple minutes, see how many of these you know, put them in the right category, A or B. If you're not sure, that's okay. Then we're going to go over them together. Okay. We've got lots to do today, so I'm going to get you guys to do some practice, and I'm going to check out some of your questions. Put your answers in the chat, and then we'll go over them together. All right? Trumpy wants to say hi to his mommy. All right. Okay, I'm out of here, and I'm going to put the music on, get to work, and then we'll go over it together. Okay? Put them in the right category. Go for it, guys. All right, lots of stuff coming in. Lots of answers. Good, good, good. So many answers that I'm probably not going to be able to go through all of them and give you the proper shout out like I usually do. So I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly. Okay, and if you have questions as I go, put it in the chat. Lots of good stuff coming in. So we said forbid. As I said, I put it down here. Okay, I forbid you to do that. Okay. Discover here, I would say, I discovered someone doing something. Right? I came home and discovered a burglar stealing my television. Okay? Nominate. Now again, this is kind of in the causative category, right? We would put it over here. I nominate you to be the next president, for example. Trumpy, that's for you. Okay, so nominate someone to do something. Okay, again, causative, right? Catch. Catch goes over here. It's very similar to discover, right? We say, I caught him stealing my money. Yeah, lots of stealing going on. I'll try to come up with a different example. All right. What else do we have? Report. Now this one's a little bit of a tricky one. But I would put that over here. Okay, the news reported people stealing from a store. Yeah. Remember. Okay, now Azalea is asking about remember. Good question, Azalea. I'll come back to that. That's really good, because again, it gets kind of tricky. Robel is saying the same thing. He's saying remember is both. But is it? Okay, we'll come back to it. Enable, again, is causative, so it's to, right? I want to enable you to improve your English, for example. Enable you to succeed. Enable you to get the score you need. Good stuff. Imagine goes over here. And say, imagine yourself flying in the sky. Imagine yourself riding a unicorn across a rainbow. Right? Again, this is about perception. Okay? Yeah, Robo's got, yeah, good for you. Robo, you got the gerund there for imagine. Good, good. Now remember, here's the trick. Okay, now anybody who was here last week, we said that remember can be both, right? Gerund and infinitive, if it's followed by the directly, okay? So if you say remember going to the store, remember to go to the store, anybody who's saying both, yes. But if you put an object in there, it can't be both, okay? And this is where it gets tricky. If you're putting the object in there, remember has to go down here, okay? And that's where students get a little bit tricked, and that's exactly why I put remind over here. Because you can remember, say, I remember my dad playing guitar. Okay, thinking about a memory from your childhood. Okay, I remember my dad playing guitar, but you cannot say, I remember my dad to play. Doesn't work. That's why you need remind, and that's where students get tripped up, right? Remind goes over here. Remind is causative, okay? If I say, I reminded my dad to buy milk, okay? That's the difference between remember and remind in the pattern. Remind is, it's transitive, right? I mean, it's causative. All right. Right, we can't use remember as a causative, exactly. You can't remember someone to do something. It's impossible, okay? That's good. Okay, so encourage goes over here. I encourage you to ask questions. Now Trumpy's saying, can I say, I remember go? No. I remember going, or I remember to go. Okay, good question. I encourage you to ask me to do something, right? Okay. Convince. Convince goes over here. Again, it's causative. Shaun encouraged me to do work. I do. Okay. I convince you to give me some money. Or maybe not. Right? Involve, again, maybe the tricky one, but it goes over here. Involves me having to. Okay, so if I say, for example, my job involves me coming in early, for example, right? Okay, so you got the gerund there. Good, good, good. Now again, remember, I'm putting some of these in here to trick you. Some of them you might think are both, but none of these examples that we're looking at today are both. Okay, so for example, can't stand, based on last week's class, we said can't stand to do something, can't stand doing something. Okay, both of them work, but if you put that object in there, it changes it. So it goes over here, because again, it's about feeling, right? It's about feeling. I can't stand people doing what? Can't stand people being loud on the bus. I don't know. I'm fine with that. It's just an example. You can be loud on the bus if you want. But again, this is the pattern. Oh yeah? Trumpy will give me some money if I need it? Good. Good to know. David Brower is saying, do we have to just memorize this? There isn't a rule. Well, as I said, I mean, it is about, yeah, I mean, memorizing, I guess, is the unfortunate word for it. But if you do look at these, most of these examples, as I said before, these words are more causative, right? One person getting another person to do something, right? These are often about perception, about feeling, okay? Okay, so that's kind of the loose rule, David, but no, a lot of it is about memorization. Yeah, but don't think it's about sitting down and just looking at a list. I mean, it's when I think memorization, I really mean paying attention when you're reading or when you're listening to the language, right? Really focusing on not just a word, but the words that are used around it. Okay, and this is what I say a lot in this class, is that when you're looking at the language, pay attention to how words are used together. Look for the patterns and remember them. Yeah, so Alejandra's asking the causative. So when we say causative, we talk about, and there's a whole class that we did once on causative verbs, right? So all of these, forbid, nominate, not so much report, but enable, remind, encourage, and convince. You're really talking about one person getting another person to do something or to not do something, right? Okay, so I encourage you to ask questions. So I'm trying to get you to ask questions. I convince you to ask questions. I forbid you to ask questions. There's kind of a cause-effect thing going on here. Okay? Hopefully that's clear, Alejandra, okay? All right, a couple more here. Expect. I would put that down here. I expect my team to win. Okay? Foresee, again, perception, right? I foresee, very similar. This is a good balance here, a good juxtaposition. I foresee my team winning. And then I feel. I would put that over here. Okay, whoop. Okay, so I feel someone touching my shoulder. Is it causative? Not quite passive voice, because causative could be active or passive. Good question. If you guys are wondering about the causative, I did do a class a couple months ago. You should check it out. It's all about this causative voice, this causative structure. Okay? Okay, so good questions. Now, there is another pattern that I want to look at today, okay? And that is, as we said, that clauses. Again, if you guys have questions about this stuff, put them in the chat and we'll try to come back to it, okay? All right, so this guy, appreciating you giving him a hand, but we also have to talk about the that clause pattern today, okay? Somebody's asking about ghosts. I don't know about ghosts. I hurt feel giving examples to Nicole. Vivek, I'm not quite sure about that example there, okay? So that clauses, just so we're clear, when I say a clause, which we've talked about many times in this class before, right? A clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb. It needs a subject and a verb to be a clause. Muhammad is saying, is foresee synonymous with predict? It's yes, exactly. To see before, which is, yeah, same as predict or forecast. Ali is saying, can you use for? Thank you for giving me a hand. Absolutely, that's a good pattern too. Yeah, so Rosa, I mean, have is a causative verb for sure. But have would be followed by, I would say, the base form. We've talked about that before in the causative class, right? Like I had him get me something, okay? And we're going to talk something about bare infinitives and base form verbs in a minute. Oh, all right. I feel someone touching my shoulder. You're asking about ghosts. Okay, yeah, that makes sense now. Okay, so clauses, any group of words with a subject and a verb, right? Good. Okay, so a that clause, very simply, is a clause that begins with that. So it's that plus a subject and a verb. Okay, so any clause with that subject verb is a that clause. Okay, for example, that he would be late, that it was dangerous, that this course is interesting. All of these are that clauses because you've got that plus the subject verb. Ifra is saying hi. Hi, Ifra. Welcome to the class. Okay, so these are that clauses. But of course, it's not just as simple as that clauses. Now, some verbs can be followed by that clauses and some can't. Now look at this chart here. This is a table. I just picked about 12 or so verbs that are commonly followed by that clauses. But actually, one of these verbs cannot be followed by a that clause. I threw one in there just to trick you, to test you. Which of these verbs cannot be followed by a that clause? So you've got admit, tell, indicate, hope, realize, convince, prepare, suggest, propose, promise, beg, and insist. Which one of these cannot be followed by a that clause? Nilofer is saying he can't stand people spitting on the streets. That's a good example. That's a good example. Okay? Anybody have any idea? Which of these verbs cannot be followed by a that clause? Who's got the answer to that? Well, how about this? I'll put the answer on here anyway. Okay? Beg, Alejandro says. No, beg's good. Yeah. Tell, no, tell's good. Now I'm torturing you. Convince, no, good guess, Swade, but convince, that is okay. I'm convinced that. All right, the answer is prepare. You can't prepare that subject verb, okay? All of the other verbs here can be followed by a that clause. Oh, Shaminda came in just after I put it in there, but you're right. Shaminda Everton got it too. Prepare cannot be followed by a that clause just because, okay? It can't because it can't, and the others can because they can, and on behalf of English, I apologize. Okay? Chari, no, insist is fine. Insist that. Good. All right. So these words can be followed by that clauses, but of course there are different patterns of that clause. Okay? And Alex Kolokolov, yeah, you got it too. Amini as well. Good stuff. Or actually, no, Amini, propose is fine. Okay. So we've got 3 different patterns of that clauses to look at today. Okay? Oh, Zanab is here. Hi. First, you've got the typical verb plus that plus clause. Okay? Verb plus that clause. That's it. Okay? So this is what we've already kind of talked about. Something like, the doctor explained. There's your verb. The doctor explained that I would have to make changes to my lifestyle if I wanted to avoid future health issues. So a lot of these kind of report verbs are used with that clauses, right? Reported that, said that. I was about to say, Shaun. Vivek, I'm not sure what your question is. Okay. So explained that. This is your standard that clause verb pattern. Okay. I might have another example here too. I like this one. Lucy pretended that, oh, there's a little that dance there, right? Okay. Lucy pretended that she was busy on her phone so she wouldn't have to speak to him. Yeah, typical move. Yeah, maybe I've done it once or twice. Okay. So pretend that, subject verb. There's your that clause pattern. But of course, it isn't that simple. People are saying it's a noun clause. Yeah, it could be a noun clause. It could be a verb or subject complement, right? Or it could be just part of the predicate with the verb. Okay. But in this case, this is the regular pattern. But there are 2 other ones that I want to look at. Okay. There is verb plus object plus that clause, which changes things a little bit. Okay. Like his mom reminded him that, there's your that you're dancing that there. Okay, so reminded him that he needed to book a flight home. So in this case, remind, okay, can be followed by an object. A verb like pretend cannot. Okay, you can't pretend him that. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. Okay, so there are 2 different types of uses there. Amini's saying, are they only these words that come together with that clause? No, that list, that table that I put, there's more. I couldn't fit them all on the screen, unfortunately. I just picked a couple really common ones, Amini. Vivek, you're angry with me? All right. Chari is saying, I realized that I should study verb patterns once again. Exactly, that's a good example of that first pattern. Okay. And this, again, is the second pattern, but of course, I've got another one. I've got another pattern. Oh, one more example, actually. First, I reminded Shaun that I hate him. Yeah, right. That's exactly right. That's good, but not to Shaun. All right. In this case, back to the lovely couple here, he tried to convince her, object, convince her that she could trust him. He tried to convince her that she could trust him. All right. Yeah, I don't know if she should or not. You guys decide. But this is the second pattern. Okay? And then one more, and this is kind of maybe the confusing one. This is verb plus that plus subject and bare infinitive. All right? Now we're going to get a little bit more complicated here, guys. Okay? Bare infinitive really just means no to with your infinitive. So rather than to go, you say go. Rather than to be, you say be. Okay? Very similar to base form, right? And this is something that if anybody studied the subjunctive, it's kind of the same thing that we're looking at here. Okay, very similar. Luciana says, I'm not pretending that I am sick. Yeah, my doctor suggested that I should rest. Well, that's a good suggestion. Does this count as rest? I don't know. It's restful for me. I'm relaxed. Okay, so the bare infinitive is just to infinitive with no to. Okay? Now let me show you an example. Let's get a little crazy. Let's get nuts here, okay? So, the boss demanded, there's your verb, demanded that, there's your little that dance there, that he is your subject, okay? But then the verb, you'll notice here, stay, has no S on it, right? So this is the infinitive, but there's no to. So you say the boss demanded that he stay late and rewrite the proposal, okay? This is, yeah, some people call this subjunctive, and that's fine. Usually, when you see he, you're going to expect to see the S there, but you can't put the S here. It's just the base form of the verb, the bare infinitive, okay? The boss demanded that he stay late. Now, interesting thing is, as I said, no S, and for the subject, it doesn't matter if it's he or I stay, she stay, we stay, stays the same, okay? So with a verb like demand, that verb pattern, that clause is a little bit different from the others, okay? And there are some other examples of that as well. Do I have another example? Oh, well, and obviously the verb rewrite is also in that bare infinitive form. There's no S, right? Exactly. Nor is saying you don't conjugate the verb, right? You leave it in that base form, no to. Good. All right, let's look at one more example. And again, a lot of these verbs you have seen before, you've used them before. Demand is one. Suggest, right? She suggested that. Well, that, dancing that, yeah. We grab some food before the party. Exactly, Alejandro saying like subjunctive in Spanish. Good. And Anu is saying would be there with the bare infinitive. Right, be is the bare infinitive there. And also, in this structure, sometimes you can put the word should in there, right? She suggested that we should grab some food. She suggested that we grab some food. It's the same thing. Good. Ali is saying yes, it's because it follows the that clause. Exactly, right. So there are other verbs like this too. Suggest, demand, insist, for example, okay? Request, often about asking things or suggesting things, okay? Now these are the three different kinds of that clauses that follow this verb pattern that we're studying today, okay? So how about this? How are we doing for time? Oh yeah, we've got time. I'm going to make you guys sweat a little, okay? I'm going to make you guys go for something here and do some practice. Not the mistake of the week, not yet, okay? I would like you to go back to this exercise. Now again, I will put the document, I'll put the link in there just in case you're just joining us. Some other questions in here. Alex is saying, how about she suggested us? She suggested us to grab. Yeah. I would say, rather than us there, Alex, you could take all of that out and just say she suggested grabbing with the gerund, okay? I think that sounds more natural. She suggested grabbing some pizza before the party, okay? The verb in the bare form could be any, Alejandro saying, yes, that's right. It could be any kind of bare infinitive, exactly right. So go into this exercise. I am actually going to pop over to my side and scroll down. I'll leave this on the screen so everybody can see it. Now you've got to get creative with this one. I want you guys to try to finish these sentences. Mohammed puts an example in here. Suggested Joseph that he must relearn parking. Mohammed, I would say get Joseph out of there, or suggested to Joseph that he must relearn, okay? The sentences they're not really passive voice, no. She suggested that he go to school. That's exactly right, Everton. Good stuff. Okay. So how about this? I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to get creative. I've started the sentence. Each sentence has a verb here, but I need you to finish it with your own idea here. But you have to decide which of these patterns to use. So she didn't mention. Are you going to finish that sentence with that clause, object plus that clause, or that plus the subject in the bare infinitive? Okay? So I would say mention, because it's connected to reported speech. She didn't mention that she was going to be late, for example. Just anything you want. You just think of something and finish that sentence. Mention follows this first pattern. Okay? Why? Just because. Luciana says she didn't mention that she baked the cake. Good. I'm going to put Luciana's in here because it's special having her back in class here. She baked the cake. Maybe it's a secret. Okay. Good, good. So give me some answers here, guys. I'm going to pop out here for a couple minutes, try to finish these sentences. I'm going to put the music on, and then we'll go over it together. She didn't mention that she was married? Uh-oh. All right. I'm out of here. Where am I going? There we go. All right, get to work, guys. Okay, good stuff. Lots of good answers coming in. Let's go over this because we are a little short on time here now. but that's okay. We got time to go over this stuff. Okay, so number 1, we had lots of good stuff coming in. Luciana said she didn't mention that she baked the cake. What else? What else do we have there? Zainab said that she was fired from work. Good. Well, actually, well, not good, but good. Good for you, not good for her, right? All right, thank you, Zainab. That's good. Nornor says that I can do more. That she failed the exam. Suede, yeah, good. Okay, I mean, lots of bad news, but that's good. Good verb patterns. Now, number 2, before he left, he assured. Now, in this sentence, you should be following this pattern, right? You want the object after the verb assure. So who's got it? Okay, Himanshu, you're close. I would just put the object in there. That was pretty good. Alejandro says he assured him that he would receive the money. Yeah, that's good. Good one. I think Trey Brown got one too. Where's Trey? Yeah, okay, so Trey said he assured her that the stove was off. Good, that's reassuring. That's comforting to know. That's good. So yeah, in this sentence, as Trey Brown said, you got that. You need that object in there. Okay. Good. Who else? Who else is in there? Yeah, right. So Nor said that he locked the door. Again, I would say he assured us that he locked the door. He assured her that he locked the door. Sounds best. Okay. What about number 3? The restaurant was quite expensive, but my friend insisted. Nora says, yeah, my friend insisted that we have dinner there. That's good. Now, as Nora did, you want to be following this pattern here. Okay, now, Luciana, I'm going to pick on you a little bit because you confess that you love this class, and that's good. So you said, what was your answer? I think you said tried, right? My friend insisted that we tried that food. In this pattern over here, just make sure that you're saying try, not tried. So my friend insisted that we try. So just to take Nora's out for a minute and say that we try the food there. Okay? You're going bare infinitive here because of the verb insist. Okay? Good stuff. All right. Anu says before he left, he assured his wife that he had brought her a bunch of chocolate. Good. That's a good assurance there. Nice. Nice one. Good. And Raza, for yours, for number 2, make sure that you're following with a that clause, right? That's what we're looking for. Not just to, but that. Okay, so number 4, the salesman tried to persuade. And for number 4, I would use this pattern here. And who's got one for me? Chaminda said, persuade me to buy. Now that's great. That's a great infinitive verb pattern. But I'm looking for a that clause, Chaminda. Okay. Okay, Rosa says, persuade me that. That's a good one. The salesman tried to persuade me that this dress is attractive. Now again, if you think about last week, because there's a verb pattern right there, it sounds to me like the salesman failed in persuading Rosa that the dress was attractive, right? He tried to, but he did not persuade her, right? Okay. Divya says, my friend insisted. I would say, again, you want the that clause for this one, Divya. So you'd say, my friend insisted that he pay the bill. Good. Luciana, because you're not around very often, I'll put yours here, and because it makes me feel good. I really must confess that I love this class with a couple of these. Yeah? I feel the same way. Good stuff. Okay. So in this case, confess. You're following with that first clause, that clause pattern there. Okay. Zara said that I must confess that I love him. That's great. Divya saying, what is the meaning of persuade? Persuade is like convince. Okay, that's what salesmen are trying to do, convince you of things. Okay, now the last one, Johnny's lawyer recommended. Now for number 6 with recommend, you're going to follow this pattern. Okay, I'm going to put an answer in here. Johnny's lawyer recommended that he plead guilty. Right? Not the greatest thing to hear from your lawyer, but sometimes it's good advice, right? So in this case, you're not going to put S, no ED, just the base form. Okay? Vivek says the salesman tried to persuade my girl that I'm not good to marry her. Wow, that's a crazy salesman. Yeah, I guess tell that salesman to mind his business is what I would say. All right, Swade is saying that he should appeal the court. Okay, well maybe that's happier advice coming from Swade. Says that he should, and we said you could put should in there, appeal the court's decision. Is that what you said? Yeah, the court's decision. That's good advice sometimes too. Better than plead guilty, I guess, if you're innocent. Okay. All right, guys. Now, some of you are going to demand that I continue, but unfortunately, we don't have time for the mistake of the week today. Rosa's saying, what's the meaning of plead? It depends on the context, Rosa. I saw you talking about context earlier. Now, plead in the context of law is when you basically officially state if you are guilty or not guilty, right? So if you have to go to court, if you are accused of a crime, murder, for example, you say, I plead guilty, I plead not guilty. Luciana saying, remain quiet. Confess is a question from Nornor, but I'm not sure what the question is. Johnny's lawyer recommended to my wife that I would say that she kill me in my sleep. I think Johnny needs a new lawyer, all right? Is time the mistake of the week? Chateau 7, did I make a mistake? Tell me my mistake. Oh, or just the time itself. Are you criticizing my time management skills? I hope so, because yes, time and my inability to control it, that is my mistake for sure. All right, so let me jump out of here. I know that you guys love the mistake of the week, but we'll save it for another time, okay? Because I have a meeting actually I have to go to. Okay, so just to let you guys know, because I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. Next week is very close to the... I'm persuading you to leave the class. Now, fortunately, I don't have to persuade you to leave the class. I can just turn it off. I can leave. You can stay if you want. All right? The lack of time. So next week is the week before Christmas. It gets a little bit crazy around here in Vancouver at the Canadian College of English Language with teachers taking holiday and whatnot. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be here next Thursday, okay? We'll say for now, we'll see, and perhaps I'll be here at the regular time next week. If not, because I might have to jump in and teach a class here at the school next week at this time, I'll let you know, okay? I'll put it on Facebook and let you know if I'm unable to be here next Thursday. Just keep your eye on the Facebook group, okay? In the meantime, between then and now, you can keep watching classes with other people, although I think maybe a few people are on vacation next week as well. I think Mark might be off. I'm not sure what he's said about his schedule, okay? But yeah, it is Christmas vacation for many people next week, so we'll see, okay? Thank you so much for coming. It's always a pleasure to see you guys. You guys make me laugh in a good way, right? with your funny jokes. I hope some of them are jokes. Merry Christmas to you too. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Just happy Thursday, happy next week, whatever your religion, culture, creed is. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming. We'll see you here next time, maybe next week or the week after that. I'll keep you posted. It's always a pleasure. Mark is saying he's off next week. He's not coming to you live from the beaches of Honolulu. Yeah, keep practicing your English, keep using your verb patterns, and keep making mistakes and learning from your mistakes. Mistakes are beautiful. And we'll see you here next class, guys, okay? Till then, okay? Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.